Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a card making process for you, and I'm going to be using this really gorgeous stamp and die set from Avery Elle called Blooming and Blooming Elements. And you can see that the stamp set has this really gorgeous floral frame with some other little floral and foliage pieces, and then the thank you sentiment. And of course, you can see the coordinating dies that go along with this set from Avery Elle. So I really love this. I had to have it, and I'm going to create a card here today showing you how I used this set. So I'm going to start off here with a piece of Bristol Smooth paper, and I'm just going to stamp out that frame with some versafine onyx black ink. And you'll just see me using the Tim Holtz stamping platform here. This is the travel platform, so it's a smaller one. And I'm just trying this out. I haven't had this for very long. I wanted to see what this was like versus the Misty. And so this is really my first time, or maybe it's my second time using this platform, and I like it. It works well. So I'm just going to make sure that I have a really solid image there. Now, something I should have probably done with this stamp was just kind of roughed it up a little bit, because this is the very first time I've used it. So it did take a few times to stamp that down to get a solid image. Now there you can see my image, and I am going to be using Faber-Castell Polychromos color pencils for the coloring for this card. And you could just use whatever color pencils, obviously, you have in your stash. I really like the Faber-Castell set, and my sister a few months back treated me to a very large set of these pencils, and I love them. So I always think of her when I use them, because she definitely really spoiled me with these. And what I usually do, and you can see here I've kind of picked out a rainbow assortment of colors, is I'll pick 3 colors from a color palette, and then I'll go in with the lightest, then the medium tone, and then the darker tone, and then I'll go back and blend with the medium and lighter tone. So you can see that process for this little blue flower here. And this is really, really simple to do. And I think that the thing that I love the most about this particular brand, the Polychromos pencil crayons, is that they blend so well, and the colors are just so gorgeous and vibrant, and the pigment is just amazing. So you can just see me blending those colors out, how easy this is with these crayons, and it just works so well. So I will just do that with that color palette that you can see there to the right. And I'll use 3 colors, like I said, for each of the different florals. So for the pink, I'll use 3 tones of pink, and the purple, 3 tones of purple, etc. And the foliage, 3 tones of green. And I'm not actually going to do all of the coloring on camera, because it's just the same process over and over again here for each one of the different floral pieces, just with a different color. And it's, like I said, it's so easy to do. So if you haven't had a chance to play with some color pencils yet, it's a lot of fun. And you know, if you just have a basic set, that's good too. Whether it's Prismacolors or the Polychromos, whichever it is, I feel like they're quite a bit more reasonably priced than some of the alcohol markers or some of the markers that can be pretty pricey. So, and you do end up with a really nice result. So with these crayons, I do end up going over them when I'm all finished with my Nouveau shimmer pen, just to add a little bit of shimmer to them. Now I'm going to cut around that with the die. I'm going to cut around the outside edge of that floral frame. And then I'm going to go in and cut out the center piece as well, so that I end up with just that frame itself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the center part of my card front there. And then I'm also going to cut out the center part of a piece of this purple plaid patterned paper. Wow, that's quite a tongue twister. From Lawn Fawn. This is, I believe, Perfectly Plaid Rainbow. And I really love this tone of purple. It matches up with the purple of the pencil crayons that I used, and also it is going to match up with the Distress Oxide ink that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to use my purple tape to adhere down my die. I'm going to run that through the Big Shot again, and there you can see I have a window in the front of my card. Now I thought about using vellum behind there, and I ultimately end up not using it, so I'll stick that in on my desk and use that for another card with this frame. But for today, I just had kind of a different idea of what I wanted to do. So what I'm now going to do next is I'm going to take my sentiment. Oh, actually, I'm going to pop this up with some adhesive. And I'm just going to use a little bit of dimensional foam adhesive. These are the Doris foam strips, and they're just really nice, thin little strips of foam that are really easy to adhere and work really well for something like this. Now I'm going to stamp my thank you sentiment on the inside of my card with some Versamark ink. Before I do that, I'm going to treat the paper with my embossing buddy here, just so that my embossing powder doesn't stick to my paper where I don't want it to stick. And I'm going to just stamp that sentiment out with my Versamark ink, like I said, and I am going to emboss this with some Brutus Monroe Alabaster embossing powder. So I'm going to stamp that out, make sure I've got a really nice image there. And then I'm going to take that embossing powder, like I said, I'm going to use my little Nouveau spoon here to spoon that on over a coffee filter, just making sure the coffee filter catches the extra so that I can dump that back into my little pot. I'm going to heat that up with my heat tool and make sure that that's all melted. And then you'll see that I am going to go over this with some Distress Oxide ink just to make that sentiment pop off of there and show up with the white embossing powder. So I'm just going to clean up my embossing mess here, get that all tidied up, and carry on with my Distress Oxide inks. I'm a little bit fastidious with that. I like to make sure that that's all wiped up. So I am going to take a baby wipe and wipe up all the extra little bits of the embossing powder off of my surface and get that all cleaned up and carry on with the next step. So I am going to be using, I think, 4 colors of Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to use Wilted Violet, Squeezed Lemonade, Salty Ocean, and Tattered Rose. And I'm going to start off with the purple here with the Wilted Violet. I'm going to go over that with my little distress tool. And then I'm going to take a little cloth here. This is actually a Swiffer cloth, or it's the Walmart brand of Swiffer cloths, the more generic brand. And you can see there that I just wiped off that embossing powder so that it's nice and white again. And now I'm just going to go in with the other colors. So some Squeezed Lemonade, some Salty Ocean, and then finally some Tattered Rose, just to blend in some of the other colors from those flowers that I colored with my colored pencils on the front of the card. And I am going to use a little bit of water on this as well, just to give that distressed water look. So just wipe that off, and here I'm going to go in with my little squirt bottle, my distressed squirt bottle. Squirt some water on there, wiped it up. Now I'm going in with some Perfect Pearls. I've just added a little bit of water to my Perfect Pearls. I'm picking them up with a fine little paintbrush and splattering those on just to give that nice little shiny finish. And now I'm just going to take some Stickles in Gold and add a little bit of glittery stickles to the centers of each of my flowers on the front. Now you could actually take that stamp and die set and add some dimensional floral pieces to this frame by stamping the little flowers again, coloring them, cutting out the individual floral pieces and adding them over top of the florals on the frame just to give it even more dimension. I didn't do that with this card. It is something that I plan to do with another project. So I'm just adding a few sequins here with a little bit of adhesive and my jewel picker, my Marvy jewel picker tool, and my tweezers, and that is going to finish off my card. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you here another time. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.